Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. Welcome to the Sajdah Morning Coffee Talks, where we talk about life, love, and business. And I am going to go over this morning some of the questions that you all have had for me that didn't quite go with the other subjects, but we cover them today. I'm going to show a few commercials, give y'all time to get in the room. I know it's Saturday morning. Everybody got to get up and get to it. So put your questions in the chat, and we'll be back in a few minutes. Be a friend and tell a friend. Okay? See y'all in a few.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judges, and none can judge against Thee. And he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee. And I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible.
Assalamu alaikum, family. Peace be unto you. Welcome to the Sajdah channel. You're tuned in, and I'm your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. I'm so grateful for you all to be here today. We are between the birthday of Martin Luther King, which was January 15th, and then the actual holiday, which is on Monday. And there's been just a lot of reflections and things like that on Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I'm going to be doing an event with Ebony Lucas and Che Rhymefest Sunday afternoon. We're going to be doing it at Nitro Nostalgia, just talking about Dr. King. And I just was compelled to think about him in a place-based type of way. You know, when I was in high school, I got quite a few little small scholarships based on doing essays on Dr. King. And my mom went out and bought me a bunch of books. She bought me all these albums and tapes, and I would just listen to the lectures and understand. But what was striking to me was the courage, the tenacity, the strength, and, you know, later studying his evolution. I actually have a copy of his obituary. And I just started watching, just from studying the spirit of him as a child and watching the evolution and how he evolved, but the PR around him didn't necessarily evolve. And so it just interesting. So it's just kind of one of those spaces that I'm in, and just using that place-based education to think about him and his lovely wife. And I was standing yesterday in the living room of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House and just visualizing them walking in there together, sitting down, talking. And if I could take myself back 50 years and just hear the entire conversation, I would love to do that. Anyway, I wanted to today, because a lot of you asked me a lot of questions this week that didn't quite go with our topic. So I want to give you an opportunity to put your questions in the chat. But as I was playing the commercials and waiting for you guys to come in the room, I was just doing a quick short meditation, and the Spirit said, read the history of Solomon. And I started to argue back a little bit and say, but wait, I wasn't not really prepared to talk about that. But I said no. So I'm going to read from the Holy Quran, the history of Solomon, or at least up to the part where Spirit just gave me to read it. And as I was even reflecting on my own life and just thinking about navigating the vicissitudes of life, and how whenever there was some difficulty, is generally whenever we're trying to be deceptive or worshiping a God or something besides Allah or God, making something else our object of worship, whether it's a problem. A lot of times we think that we're being strategic. This is the thing that you got to be careful about, the way you divine strategy. That's why yesterday I talked about the difference between strategy and planning, because strategy is oftentimes the methodology that you use to achieve a particular goal. You have to be very careful when you are trying to manifest a certain energy or a certain vibration, that your strategy doesn't make you play games or be deceptive. Because what happens then is you start to vibrate at the level, or you start to vibrate with the games. You start to vibrate with the BS that you're putting out there, because you're trying to make somebody think something. But I have this saying, you can't play with people who can see. So when you're spending time trying to make somebody think something is what it ain't, you're vibrating with at the wrong level. And it's very, very important, because a lot of us are, in our businesses, we're working, and right now it requires a lot of strategy, because there's not necessarily, a lot of money flowing around. And so people got to strategize. People got to figure out, how do I be smart? What information do I share? What information do I not share? But you want to be very careful not to turn that corner to where you're playing a deceptive game, and you're now adjusting or altering your winning vibration just because you're trying to convince people of something else. So, be cognizant of that. And strategy is an art. And when I teach strategy to entrepreneurs, one of the key things that I'm always teaching is, number one, don't make a God out of anything besides Allah or besides God, because sometimes we get really focused and the money becomes the God. That throws us off. The impression becomes the God. We're trying to give a certain impression, and we get so caught up in that. And what that can do, it can delay the progress of your business. It may not tank your business altogether, but it may delay the progress. So something that maybe you would have made $10 million on in 5 years may take 15 years, because you got this other alternate and conflicting vibration going on. So Spirit said, read the history of Solomon. And so I'm going to do that. And we'll see how it ties in, because that's what I got. So this is from Surah 27, section 3, History of Solomon. She said, "O chiefs, advise me respecting my affair. I never decide an affair until you are in my presence." And a lot of us can relate to that, right? We're moving along. We have affairs of life, affairs of business, life affairs, business affairs, relationship affairs. We have all this, and we say, okay, I'm going to consult with Allah every step of the way. So she said, "O chiefs, advise me respecting my affair. I never decide an affair until you are in my presence." They said, "We are possessors of strength and possessors of mighty prowess, and the command is thine. So consider what thou wilt command." She said, "Surely the kings, when they enter a town, ruin it, and make the noblest of its people to be low, and thus they do. And surely I am to send them a present, and to see what answer the messages bring back." So when the envoy came to Solomon, he said, "Will you help me with wealth? But what Allah has given me is better than that which he has given you. Nay, you are exultant because of your present. Go back to them, so we shall certainly come to them with hosts which they have no power to oppose, and we shall certainly expel them therefrom in disgrace, while they are abased." He said, "O chiefs, which of you can bring me her throne before they come to me in submission?" This is interesting. Okay, I'm going to keep going here. One audacious among the jinn said, "I will bring it to thee before thou rise up from thy place, and surely I am strong, trusty for it." And having knowledge of the book said, "I will bring it to thee in the twinkling of an eye." Then when he saw it settled beside them, he said, "This is of the grace of my Lord, that he may try me whether I am grateful or ungrateful. And whoever is grateful, he is grateful only for his own soul. And whoever is ungrateful, then surely thy Lord is self-sufficient, bountiful." He said, "Alter her throne for her. We may see whether she follows the right way or is of those who go not aright." Interesting. So when she came, it was said, "Was thy throne like this?" She said, "It is as it were the same. And we were given the knowledge before about it, and we submitted. And that which she worshiped besides Allah prevented her, for she was of a disbelieving people. It was said to her, 'Enter the palace.' But when she saw it, she deemed it to be a great expanse of water, and prepared herself to meet the difficulty. He said, 'Surely it is a palace made smooth with glass.' She said, 'My Lord, surely I have wronged myself, and I submit with Solomon of Allah, the Lord of the worlds." This is so powerful, because we're talking about worshiping things besides Allah. In Islam, we call that polytheism, making a God besides Allah. So I've done talks on this show about not making your problems your God. You don't make your children your God. You don't make your parents your God. You don't make people you want to impress your God. You don't make that person that you're trying to, get in bed with your God. You don't do that at all. But this is a perfect example of how Solomon's wife entered a palace, and the palace was made of glass, but she thought it was made of water. Her vision had been impaired because her belief was skewed. And a lot of us think that if I pray really hard, if I just focus really hard, I'm the praying person. I speak in light language. I speak in tongues. I speak in Arabic. I speak in all these different languages. I'm a really spiritual person. I believe. But then you step out into the world and you're deceptive. You're lying. You're cheating. You're trying to you're trying to convince people of things that aren't true. And you put all this effort into the deception, that the deception becomes your God and becomes more important to you than the will of God itself. Very, very, very powerful. Sometimes our jealousy becomes a God. Our envy becomes a God. We become so obsessed that our vision gets off. We can't see. We're reacting emotionally and we're responding to things that are not important. And so while we over here having this emotional response to something that's not important, the real deal is going on over here. The palace is really made of glass, but you over here responding as if it's made of water. And you're preparing yourself to move like it's made of water. Let me know in the chat if you're getting this, because it's our vision, it's what we focus on and what we worship that takes away our vision. It takes away our ability to hear the spirit, to be able to move in a certain way. When you're so busy trying to compete against somebody else, you can't think straight. When you're busy trying to steal and lie, you can't think straight. When you're busy trying to make me think something is what it ain't, you can't think straight. The idea is that we have to stay clear. See, this whole concept of being a conscious entrepreneur and bringing it back to that is a lifestyle. It's a way of being, a way of conducting ourselves, a way of stepping out on faith and working to sharpen our vision. And you're going to have your moments, you're going to have your challenges. But if your vision is clear and you have the courage to follow what you see and to believe what you see. See, that's another, that's a word right there. See, we live in a society where the practice of deception is very commonplace. So it's, okay, let me lie, let me cheat, let me steal, let me do all of this stuff. And it becomes very common. So people are doing it on different levels. Some people are really big con artists. Some people are tiny con artists. Some people are just deceptive in their everyday dealings with one another. Some of us live in households and we got husbands and wives, and we don't want them to know how much money we have. We don't want them to know who we're talking to. We're constantly hiding and being deceptive. And that's how we live our lives. And that becomes very fair seeming. Well, guess what? When you get ready to try to see clearly, you can't see clearly. So now you're going and you're praying to Allah. You're like, oh, please help me, but you can't see. So I tell all of my entrepreneurs, when you're in that decision-making process, stop, settle down, pull back a little bit, and allow your vibration to recalibrate. And then start back on trying to solve the challenge. And then what that'll do is that'll help you see more clearly. Help you see more clearly. Be careful about having people around you that make you feel like you got to be other than yourself. I don't like working with people. If I feel like I got to curse you out and stress out and go off on you just to get you to do what I need you to do on the project, then I don't want you on my project. I don't want you in my business, not because I'm not interested in training you and not because I don't help you, but at the same time, as I'm building and developing my business, I'm also becoming something new. I'm also evolving into something new so that I can vibrate at a new vibration, a more elevated vibration, and attract and bring more of what I need on that level into my life. So once God elevates me to that level, I'm sitting there at that level. Now I got to get up and walk and behave and conduct myself on that level. How do I do that? I have to transform. I have to rebuild myself. I have to become something or someone new. I can't keep being the person that I was on the prior level, because if I'm the person that I was on the prior level, then I may not solve the problem. I'm going to be on a hamster wheel. I'm going to be crying. I'm going to be upset. I'm not going to be in the right space because I'm down here trying to put a square peg in a round hole when really I'm being elevated up here, and I'm supposed to function at this level. So one of the things that I learned to do a long time ago as I was navigating through the business world is to continue to elevate. Get to that next level, and then I say, okay, who do I need to be? How do I need to conduct myself? What kind of person do I need to be? What kind of image do I want to portray? What kind of energy do I want to give off? What kind of environment do I want to create? How fertile do I want to be in terms of my interactions with other people? And then God can show you things. Now, when you get that vision and God starts to show you things, here's the next challenge. Because as your vision gets clearer and clearer and you start realizing, oh, wait a minute, that's a glass building. It ain't made of water. You start really seeing it. Now, guess what? Now you have the challenge of how are you going to handle your newfound vision? How are you going to handle the gifts that you're being given in the process? Are you going to flaunt it? Are you going to dog people out? Are you going to talk about it? How are you going to handle that? And so then that becomes the next challenge and the next challenge, because the whole idea is to evolve and to elevate. And you always want to extend and be in a space where you're operating beyond your intellectual capacity, right? Because based on your intelligence, my education, your education, my experiences, that can produce certain results, okay? And it may not even be competitive. But if I can get to that space where I am saying, okay, my intellectual capacity is here, but my manifestation capacity is way over there. Why? Because I'm operating beyond my intellectual capacity. And in order to do that, I have to trust, I have to have courage, I have to be able to see, I have to be able to hear, excuse me, I have to be able to conduct myself in a way that allows me to hear the voice of God as I'm navigating through something. So when you're doing that kind of stuff, you ain't got time to be a hater. You ain't got time to be acting crazy. You ain't got time to be trying to trick nobody, trying to play no games, because that's a full-time job. Trying to figure out, how do I navigate in that space of revelation? Why is it a space of revelation? Because it's not from you. It's not from your intellectual capacity. It's not from the boundaries of your intellect. It's got to be beyond that. So you all will hear me oftentimes on interviews when people say, well, how did this happen? How did that happen? I say, I can't take credit for it because I didn't know to pray for it. I didn't know to ask for it. I've been in rooms and sitting in places around the world where I could never have put it together because I didn't know it existed. So I could never have said in my brain, this is exactly what I want and this is exactly how I want to do it. So I can't take credit for it. I have to give the credit to a power greater than myself. Why? Because it's beyond what I ever imagined. I hope that helps. Give me some questions in the chat if you guys still want to do those Q&A questions. Doesn't have to be about that. It can be about anything, whatever you want. Let's see who we got in here. Good morning, Mom. Tonisha Muhammad. Wa alaikum salam. Welcome, sis. Good morning and assalamu alaikum, Brother Lamont. I see you there. Sandra D, let me know how you're enjoying your oud oils. Are you wearing it? Are you diffusing it? What are you doing with it? She says, peace, love, blessings, happy Saturday, family. And Brother Lamont, when I asked the question, are you all getting this? He said it's very, very clear. You know, a lot of us have been through so much trauma. So much trauma. We just are really trying to navigate this trauma. And the trauma has become a God in our life. And so everything we do is pivotal to the trauma we're trying to get through. And so finding a way to release that trauma, to grow through that trauma, to get to that next level. And it can be scary, y'all. It can be very scary because, listen, it's like when you're following this, God gets you out there on a limb, you hanging by that little thin branch, and all you can do is just continue. You can't give up because the branch gonna break and you're gonna fall and break your neck. So now you have to just continue to figure out, who do I need to come? How do I need to be? What do I need to do? What do I need to think about? How do I need to conduct myself? Sometimes I've been working on projects that I've had in my business or just on a business, and there may be people involved in just learning how to tweak how I see that person. Because that happens with people too, right? You might think that they're one thing, but they're really not. And so how do you deal with that trust problem that may arise in your business? I've had managers that I've hired and I'm like, okay, I'm thinking that they're doing their job. And one of the mistakes that I made in the past was not checking to make sure that they did their job. And so what I had to learn was, you can love someone, you can trust, but and still check. But I felt like it's a combination of things. Some of it is ego, because I can't imagine that person not doing their job. They're going to do this to me the way I've looked out for them. And so that may prevent me from checking behind them or making sure that they're doing what I hired them to do. So I may be like, I ain't got to check on that. They wouldn't dare. Who they think they are? I ain't the one. Don't play with me. I've done that. And then I've hired managers where I said, man, they just seem so together when we meet. They're so organized. They got everything. I ain't got to worry about that. And then we get 6 months down the line and I got some kind of regulatory compliance that I got to deal with, and come to find out they haven't been doing their job the right way. And so I learned to have certain checkpoints, check-in points that I will have with, people that I hire, where I check in, I pop in, I take a look, I pay attention. If I don't understand totally what they need to be doing, I find a way to gain some base knowledge. So I had to learn that from really over the years being burned, and not being burned because I hired somebody who was a bad person. I'm generally pretty good at discerning whether or not somebody's a good person or not. But life be lifing. And I can't own how that person deals with their life. So I got to check in, because their life might be chaotic, although they may be beautiful, but life be lifing. And people will do stuff because life be lifing. You might think they showing up for work, but they're not, because they got something they dealing with at home. But because they know you don't check, and because they know that you trust them and you just say, just get the work done, then they may not show up. And then that becomes a ripple effect. And then the other people that you've hired that are reporting to her or him, now they're seeing that. So now they're on the job, and they're like, they don't even have anybody to report to, because the person that you thought was kind of doing something ain't there, or ain't doing what they're supposed to do. Some people just don't necessarily live an honest life, and they want to, but they just don't. They in the micro decisions of their life are very deceptive. They may be liars. They may be working through that, but that just may be how they are. And you may not see it because you and I may not see it. A lot of times I didn't see it because when they come and talk to me and come in my office and present to me, they're presenting their best representative. They're presenting their best person. But then when they go out, down on the floor and start working with the rest of the team, they go back to being a liar or a mean person or a deceptive person or somebody who feels like they got to get over on somebody, or maybe they really just don't know what they're doing. And so I learned over the years to create a system and a process of being able to kind of tune in and check in. And so anybody that works for me, I pray over them, I focus on them, I think about it. And generally, when you're operating like that, God gives you exactly what's going on. God will tell me, oh, they need help with this or that. Or I've left construction sites, and I remember asking a person one time, hey, did you guys lock up? And they said, yeah. And I remember sitting in my car, and I just stopped for a moment to be grateful. And I remember when we were doing the hospital, the site was big because it's on 2.5 acres. And they said, oh, yeah, we locked everything. We good. And, we're going to lock the gate on the way out. And so I pulled out of the gate, the construction gate. I saw the guy close it, but he didn't lock it. But it's not because I didn't see him unlock it that I went back. Something said, go back and check. And so I went back. The main gate wasn't locked, and there was a door downstairs that wasn't locked as well. And later I found out, because after we talked about it, I later found out that one of the guys on the job site has a pattern of this, where he would leave certain doors unlocked, or do, especially when you get equipment in and you're putting things in the building. And then his friends would come back at night and try to access the property. Well, that particular day where something told me, just go and make sure. So I ended up walking the entire site, making sure everything was locked down. There was no equipment left out, made sure all the doors was locked, double checked every one of them from the inside and out, left out, locked the gate. And we saw on the camera where some guys came back late at night trying to probably take the stuff that they had literally just installed. My point being is that you will learn these kind of things. And the guy who ended up doing this presented as a very nice guy. Come to find out, he had a brother-in-law who was going through some financial difficulties. And he's like, I'm not stealing it. I just left the door open. So if he wanted it, just a whole convoluted mess. But he was still presenting as this Christ-loving guy to me, because that's how he would present himself. And it was his brother-in-law that was going to go in and steal the stuff. Well, he was setting it up so that his brother-in-law could do it. But God told me just as I was leaving out. And I went home, did what I had to do, went to bed. And I think I got a call like around 11 o'clock at night. My business partner called me and he said, hey, the police just called. The alarm's going off on the site. Somebody was there. I'm going on the camera and I see the guys trying to get in the very doors that were unlocked. And I'm sorry, that's a long example, but I just want you to know that life be lifing. And you gotta pay attention, because you don't know what people going through. And then at the same time, you got to make sure you don't become that person. All right. Sandra said, diffusing has increased my creative writing and it lasts for hours. Thank you. I love it. She's talking about her Sajdah oud oil. Sister Sandra is, and she got it right here with the QR code. I curated the oil to help raise the vibration. And so you just need to drop in your diffuser and use it. I learned this when I was in Asia about meditating and raising your vibration with aromas. And I knew about using crystals and things like that, but using aromas to settle your spirit, to put you in a creative space, or, to kind of cleanse and calibrate you. You got to remember that everything's energy. Okay. So this ain't no spooky witchcraft type of stuff or whatever you might think it is. The laws of the universe are the laws of the universe, and it's all about vibration. Excuse me. And so sometimes, based on the experiences that we're having throughout the course of the day, our vibration can get off. It's why before I lay down at night, even if I've had to have late conversations or had to work on something late, I take a minute to adjust and cleanse and recalibrate my energy. And I'll do it with aromas, sometimes with music or sound, just to readjust, realign, and bring myself, back to that center space. Because what I want is that as I sleep and I release resistance, that whatever the answer is to whatever I'm working on will come through at that time. Because I'm a firm believer that God doesn't put us through anything that we can't handle. And the answer is always there. Look for him everywhere. Look for Allah everywhere. The answer is always right around us. But oftentimes we can't see it because we're too busy doing something else. And what you want to do is avoid the wasting of time. What's the answer? Boom, here's the answer. Let's go. Next. And instead of wasting time on other things, that's why I say you got to work on being deceptive. You got to work on, allowing people to kind of make you have a sluggish road. But when you sleep, you're going to release that resistance. And sometimes you may wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, and that's right in that spiritual time where you can receive the answers to whatever it is that you're dealing with. So you stop, you meditate. So I recalibrate, before I go to sleep. And don't get me wrong, I'm human. Sometimes I'm watching something on television, got to catch up on my program or something, and I'll fall asleep. But I try to, if I'm not that tired, if I wake back up, do a little meditation to cleanse, and then cut that television off and go to sleep. Don't go to sleep with the TV programming things in your brain. Just cleanse. Don't go to sleep worrying about whatever. Just cleanse and then lay down and try to take yourself to sleep. Your mind is going to do what it do anyway. But the idea is to try to straighten and recalibrate yourself. Any other questions, comments? Garland Mack said, wow, that's ridiculous. I think probably talking about when I was talking about the job site. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Really ridiculous. Brother Garland says, I've learned the best ideas that come to me are very early in the morning. Yeah, I'm like that too. I get messages, and I always say I get that revelation like between about 3 and 6. 2 o'clock sometimes if I wake up, maybe, but 3 and 6 is that magic period, and I get revelation, I get ideas, I get creativity. I have a cute notebook next to my bed where I can jot down stuff, but that is that magic hour, magic period of time, not the magic hour, but I would say that magic period. I get a lot of good ideas, and it sets the tone for the rest of the day. And even because I know that period is very fertile, that's where I'll just have that conversation. I said, God, I can't wait to see how you're going to show up and show out today. I'm having this conversation. I am so ready to receive your blessings, and I'm grateful for it. I thank you for what you're going to show me or teach me or give me access to today. Right there in that period. And I trust that you're going to guide my path, illuminate my path. Sometimes I might be feeling down. I may feel tired and overwhelmed, and I'll just say, oh, Allah, I need a demonstration of your love today. I need to feel you. I know you're all around me. I know you in these warm covers. I'm laying in. I know you in this beautiful room that I'm in. I know all of that. I'm grateful for the shelter. I need a special demonstration of your love today. I've done that. And either sometimes before I would go back to sleep or immediately afterwards, then that demonstration will come. Or I'll say, you know what, I'm not seeing in you this. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what to do. I need you to help me. So I'll say, instead of going, help me, Lord, help me, what I'll say is, relax me so that I can have access to the information and execute the solution that is necessary for me to get to what you already have for me. And so I take myself through that kind of logical process, because if I go, help me, then I kind of stay in that vibration. This is just me. If I say, help me, then the help me stays the primary vibration. And then I become, oh, thank you, Lord, for helping me. And it's just help. Then I move myself out of the space of needing help to thank you for helping me. And I know that you wouldn't put anything on me that I can't bear. And I know that the solution to what I'm going through is here. Relax my mind, relax my heart so that I can see it, so that I can make the right steps, so I can get to that right space. That's the process that I take myself through. That way, vibrationally, I'm not just operating from the space of help me, meaning as if the answer is not there. Now, there are times where you have to say help, but during that hour, during that 3 to 6 period is where I try to find a way to reconcile my mind and my heart. And sometimes my brain will be just going like monkey brains. And I'll say, allow me to access the right data so that my mind catches up with my heart. You know how you get that disconnect? Your heart's going, I know it. I got faith. This is going to work out. I can do this. That's what your heart is saying. But your brain is giving you contrary stuff. Yeah, but you got this happening and you don't know how to do that. And you ain't that smart. And other people are smarter than you. And your brain might be doing all of that. And so what I'll ask is, allow me to access the right data so that my mind can catch up with my heart, because my heart is functioning on a quantum. It can see 3D. My heart knows, no matter what the evidence is, my heart is saying one thing, but my brain's saying another. So once that data comes in, and that data might just be, you're smart, you're intelligent, you can do this. The data might just be, Allah has never forsaken you. He's always been here for you. He's always there. The data may just be, you know what, call so-and-so, or look in this place, or whatever that data is. And then the data, because I've set that in motion, now settles down the monkey brains. So my heart and mind are functioning more in one accord. And now I know what to do to get to what my heart is saying that it knows is possible. Let me know if that makes sense. I don't know if this is helping somebody. This is totally off from what I planned on talking about today. But I'm just listening and following. And if there's anybody in the chat that has any other comment or thing they want to say before I make some quick announcements and we get out of here, please let me know. Tonisha Muhammad said, praise be to Allah. Thank you for all your service. We love you. Keep up the good work. Great teaching. Oh, Sister Tonisha, thank you so much for that. That is such a beautiful comment, and I'm grateful for that. My goal is to be of service. And I've done very, very well for myself being of service. And, but being of service requires courage, because you start to think that if I'm of service, I'm not going to make any money. If I'm of service, I'm not going to, have this or that. And it's actually not true. There's a whole thing of mimicking, of having your life mimic creation. That's deep. That's a whole nother show. We should talk about that. But striving to have your life mimic creation is very powerful. Very, very powerful. And some people are so contrary that it's what makes them devilish or devils, because they always operate contrary to creation, contrary to the will of God. And that's where we have to be careful, where we're just pushing our agenda, and we're pushing. You start getting like that, and now it becomes a little devilish. But the idea is to be of service. She says mathematical theology is real. Yes, ma'am. That's what that is. That is mathematical theology. Even the idea of reconciling, which is a mathematical term, your mind with your heart. So reconciling the analytical and the data with the quantum is a mathematical theology, if you will. Those are mathematical terms. That's why we say Islam is mathematics and mathematics is Islam. We are taught to think in a mathematical way. So understanding if-then statements. If I do this, then this will happen. That's a basic mathematical statement that is used a lot in computer programming. If I push this button, then I program what's going to happen. Okay, that's an example. Mathematical thinking and theology is cause and effect. If I show up with this vibration and this mindset, what effect am I going to have? Or I did this or that and I caused this or that to happen. I remember I got a good lesson on cause and effect from my father one time. I remember I was dating this guy and he did some shady stuff. And my father just happened to call me. He said, "How you doing, sugar? How's it going?" And I was a little down, and I just told him, the way I did it, I started this conversation about men and how men be acting and all of that. And then I went in to say something that the person had done. And he said, "Well, what did you do to make him think that it was okay to act like this?" Something I never forgot. And so even in business, I'm always saying to myself, what condition did you set up that made them think it was okay to act like that? And then what condition can I set up to produce the results that I'm looking for? Right? Servant Nasir, thank you so much, says, "Oh, you are a beautiful follower. Your wisdom is solid. Keep doing what you do." Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. Tonisha said, "Beautiful sister." That's beautifully put. Thank you, ma'am. Sandra D says, "Data says, hell no, but my heart says go." That's right. Heart or data. That's right. She said, "The data says, hell no, but the heart says go," right? That's like when, let's say you're getting ready to do something really crazy. You might be getting ready to jump out of a plane and your brain is like, "Girl, you crazy." But your heart's like, you can do it. You got a parachute. You're right. The mind says, the data says, hell no. And the heart's like, "Come on, you got it. You can do it." That is so true. All right. Thank you all this morning for joining us. I think this has been a beautiful conversation. I'm really, really grateful for each and every one of you that take the time out in the morning to join, to come in. See Sister Betty laughing at us. Let's see, what I got to tell y'all. Any of you all who want to volunteer to help for Savior's Day, the QR link is on the Instagram site. It's also on my Facebook site, or you could get it from one of our experienced reps. We do reserve the right to reject you as a volunteer. So just because you sign up, don't think that you will be used, because we are looking for certain types of people. Again, y'all know I'm all about the vibration and all about setting the tone. I don't even let people come and clean up or work on my projects if you don't got the right energy in the right space. So I'm always mining for that. I had a guy come to bid on something on a project just this week, and his attitude was so nasty. Before he got to pulling out his tape measure, I said, you know what? You're not going to be a good fit for this project. And I thank you, though, for coming. I really appreciate you. And he just looked, he said, well, God bless you. He just walked out. But the attitude was so nasty. I watched how he walked past other people and how he treated other people. I'll tell you something I used to do in when I would interview physicians. I would say the meeting was at 7:00. I would have them sit in the lobby till like 7:05 and 7:07 and see how they interacted with the staff and the front desk. And I'd have my front desk say a few things to them. I just want to see how they interact. And I would ask them, how did they handle you? How did they treat you? And I've had some cases where some doctors that came to interview were downright stank and nasty to the staff, to the front desk. When they came upstairs, to talk to me and my business partner, they were so loving and so beautiful. And I'm so honored to work with you guys. And you guys mean so much to the community and woo, 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 woo. But the staff is looking like, whoa. And if you hear some of the things that people say to people, especially women that they think are vulnerable. See, sisters like myself, we present a certain vibe, and so people will try us, but less people probably try us because they know they're gonna get checked. I got a gangster that sits right here behind me, and as soon as Sajdah don't handle her business, she's like, let me get this. They can see that. But a lot of times there are a lot of women who are vulnerable, and they don't have that kind of tenacity and that will to speak up, and they don't boss up like that, and I've seen where some of these physicians came in, and we may have some we had just really sweet front desk staff who really treated the patients well. We had taken a lot of time to select them, and the patients loved them. These doctors coming to interview, and was treating them like crap. They're like, can I offer you anything? Some coffee? One doctor said, did I ask for anything? But that's important. And so in this particular case with this potential subcontractor, I saw him and how he handled people. And he was about to handle me like that, but because he wasn't sure who I was. And I just stood there and looked at him, and I think he thought about it I saw his eyes looking around like, oh, she might be the person in charge. That'd be me. And you're not going to work here. I remember taking bids from contractors before, and usually when I put out an RFP, I do bids, I'll have like maybe my contractor, my architect, somebody else. I remember a guy telling me, I asked him, I said, talk to me a little bit about your experience with constructing healthcare facilities. He said, why are you asking me that? Construction is construction. I said, okay, well, that's going to end this meeting. And I looked around at everybody, I said, we can go. He turned and started talking to my engineer and started talking to other people. And they was looking like, no need talking to me. She said, you got to go. I've had that happen a lot of times. So pay attention. Pay attention to how people treat other people. Okay. That's going to tell you about the character, because they may act a certain way around you in your face. But the question is, how are they really acting behind their back, and who are they really? And can you trust them if you decide to go further in business? So pay attention to how people conduct themselves. I try to think, as the messenger taught us, 5 times before I speak. I try my best. Every once in a while, something crazy will come out of my mouth, and I'm like, oh, sometimes you got to get with people. But then there's other times where something might come out. I was like, ooh, that was kind of mean. But anyway, family, love you all. So sign up, use the QR code, please, to volunteer if you're interested, if you are going to be here. Make sure you join the mailing list. Go to the website right now, sajdahhouse.com. Join the mailing list, please. And any of you all who feel, and we've had lots of great comments in here, either hit that super chat button, or you can Cash App Sajdah Enterprises to show your support so that we can continue to give information like this for free. I always say, we give away the game, we charge for services. So many people out here playing games with the game because they don't either know the game, or they know the game and they don't want to tell you the game. Well, guess what? I'm going to give you the game. You get around me, I'm going to give you the game on how to play this. It's up to you on whether or not you want to utilize it or not. And I don't own that. I don't own whether or not you could say, yeah, you know what, Wendy, I ain't trying to hear it. Then I say, okay, it's no problem. You're just going to get what you get. But I don't own that either. Remember, you all, it's not personal. It's vibrational. All right. So thank you. Please support. We can't keep doing these things without your support. And we will see you all, inshallah, next week. I may do something Monday. So stay tuned. We may talk about Dr. King on Monday. So stay tuned. And we may just do a live or something like that. But I'll figure it out between now and then, and I'll post the flyer. And if you hit that notification buttons, you'll get it. Or if you follow me on social media, you'll see it. All right. Peace and blessings. Happy Saturday. Do something nice for somebody today.